You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
The Gerbil Beard Podcast.
That's the second time I've told this thing to update what I'm in, and it keeps on not updating what I'm in. There we go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh.
Everyone. There we hydrate everybody. We're about to get into it. And also everyone listening at home, please donate so GORISOR can get a new camera.
We'll read out your super chats. My
How
favorite
close
platform
and
for
fuzzy I
super
look.
chats is Entropy.
Is that?
There's on what is this? The thing we're using to talk. There's a mute button next to your name on the bottom to the left. There's just a little microphone icon.
Whoa. Oh,
So,
right.
On Discord, if you just hit that mute button, you can whatever. Screw up my whole setup with 3 people and nameplates.
Wrong button, I mean.
None of us believe anything we're saying. I just want to throw that out there now.
Yes.
This is purely academic. None of us believe any of it. We've been assigned topics beforehand and positions on those topics, so nothing we say at this point or in the future reflect any of our personal or professional views.
That's correct.
I agree.
I just got on Google and Googled some things earlier, and I'm not an expert.
Yeah, not an expert over here. Anything I say can and probably may be used against me. But this is all for fun. You know, we're just here to
expose some truth here.
I think we could say how the origin of this meeting, our first ever podcast, began. It was I was streaming and we got on the topic of some conspiracies, and needless to say, it was a good enough conversation to say, hey, you know what? We can carry a good conversation here. Let's do one over conspiracies, right? So that's how it began.
I am a huge fan of conspiracies. I used to work at a place, and I would just listen to conspiracy podcasts all day long. So that's where all my knowledge comes from.
Yeah, Corpse has probably the most abundant information of conspiracies, and he's able to connect them on point. What was the one you just connected with? Was it Google?
Well, I mean,
Google.
I'll come back to one overarching conspiracy where all conspiracies are aligned. You know,
no
forces
way.
of darkness.
Oh yeah, yeah.
but oh yeah. So you were telling me about the pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
You were looking about pharmaceuticals a little bit.
Yes. So I will start first. Yes. A little shout out to Gerbil Beard's wife. Hello. She didn't tell you? Oh man.
I gotta get a hotkey.
Wait, so it's all right. Well, we'll talk.
This is how I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna type to my chat.
Okay. Sorry. So, Conspiracy Podcast, Episode 1. Welcome, everybody. We're going to get right into it. For my conspiracy, I'll go first. I am going to touch on the big pharma conspiracy theory. So, like I said, I'm reading this from Wikipedia. I'm not reading anything that I typed or whatever. This is out there. This is what this is. So, this is kind of the first time I'm reading this, actually. So, it says, the big pharma conspiracy. Have you guys heard of this conspiracy?
Data background for anyone in chat and me who hasn't heard about it.
What's going on with the big pharmas?
So, well, hold on. Az says for some reason there's a lot of echo and don't know why. Well, yeah, Az, if you're watching all 3 of our channels at the same time, you might have some echo there.
Yeah, so do you have at least two of the screens muted? Because that'll if it's not that, because I'm not hearing any echo but I'm also not listening to the actual chat.
Right. Okay. So, and if this gets too boring, cut me off because I do have another one. So, this conspiracy, they claim that the medical community in general and pharmaceutical companies in particular, especially large corporations, operate for sinister purposes. That's like satanic for those that are wondering, and against the good public. So they're saying that they allegedly cause and worsen a wide range of diseases. So their conspiracy is that the huge pharmaceutical companies are pumping out pills that are not there to actually help the people, but it's to keep them more at bay, it sounds like, or more.
Well, I was gonna say, so I think the premise of the conspiracy is a cured person is finished paying, and a person who is still ill is going to continue to pay. So
Exactly.
Okay. So,
They're not looking for the cure.
right.
That would be, their money would be sapped up.
That's the thing. So like I was saying before the podcast started, I was talking to Corpse. Gore, I went to my grandma's house a couple weeks ago. She just had surgery, so we went to go see how she was doing. And I noticed on her bookshelf she had a pharmaceutical book that was like this big, right? And it was like edition 13, 15, whatever. So I look at it, and literally the text was as small as the Bible print of all these pills that are out there and their purpose and what they're there to hopefully cure, or not cure, but subdue in a sense. And I was just blown away that there were so many, and yet like for headaches, for example, like there's aspirin, ibuprofen, there's Tylenol, there's all these things that have the same thing in it, right? But so that's a whole company thing of like Tylenol, the name brand, ibuprofen, the name is that ibuprofen a name brand, or is that a type of drug?
ibuprofen's the name of the drug, I think.
The drug, but Tylenol is a brand, right?
Yeah, Tylenol is acetaminophen, I think.
Yes.
I fought with my wife about this recently.
There you go.
Yeah.
Acetaminophen.
So
yeah, acetaminophen is Tylenol.
Advil is Advil.
What is that?
Advil.
Advil is the name brand of ibuprofen. So
okay. Yeah, so it's just I was just blown away that, and that book was like from 2000, right? So there's got to be more updated ones. It's just crazy to think that the timeline of when pharmaceuticals happened, which I'd have to look up, but like it's always evolving to a point, which I mean I could see it, but I guess you could side with two things. Either the reason there's more pills coming out is either because they're more improved, or is it just to kind of keep, what's the word, like reinventing? They're not reinventing the wheel here. You know what I mean? Like, or they're just keeping the truth of, like, this goes on to say in the conspiracy that there is actually natural cures out there that they're not telling you about, and that there is hidden there's hidden cancer cure. They have the cancer cure. They just are not letting it out to the public. Thoughts?
And what are they putting in those vaccines, bro?
Thank you. Well, I know what they put in it. They put in the actual disease, or like the flu, right? They give you a dose of the flu, right?
that's how immunizations work.
Yep.
So to start off, especially when it comes to things like medications, I think one of the important things is to look at actually how drugs go from testing to marketability. Okay. So a pharmaceutical company will basically test out a bunch of different combinations of drugs on a bunch of, well, usually on animals or something. Eventually they get to human testing. So they put in a lot of time and a lot of money, and then once that drug goes to market, they have in the US, I want to say like 5 to 15 years, something like that they are the sole proprietor of. And so that's the time when they basically try to make back their money. So when Advil essentially made ibuprofen for the first time, they had a certain period of time where they were the only people allowed to produce it.
Right.
And then a generic brand was able to be made soon after that, once that time had passed.
So the copyright.
Yeah, so basically the copyright had expired on it. So when we see lots and lots of drugs, a lot of times they do the same thing because there's researchers and like when they test drugs, they don't always have 100% idea of what it's going to do. So they basically find multiple things that relieve a headache. So ibuprofen and aspirin are both good at lowering blood pressure slightly. Ibuprofen reduces inflammation, things like that. So you'll find multiple ways of treating essentially the same symptom. So when it comes to that, at least there's a thousand kind of drugs, because you've got a bunch of companies trying to compete to make the money back. That's basically what's going on with those.
Right.
For sure.
Just like looking at the thousands of different shampoo bottles or whatever that are out there. You look at when you're in the shower, you kind of like take time to look at the ingredients. You ever do that? And you notice like it's like almost word for word when you compare the two, but one might have something a little different. You know what I mean? So it's that kind of competitiveness, right? Yeah,
there's sort of, and the thing is, I think that's what like the saturation in the market comes from.
Right.
Is from essentially one of the big three comes up with something and everyone else wants something that does the same thing, or finds a way to do it cheaper, basically. So
then are they finding new ways, or because I guess the conspiracy would be is, well, where's that cure drug in a sense? Like, why is it always having to be? Because I just looked up 745. The Golden Age was the first. The 9th century was the very first pharmacy. That's a long time to be selling drugs to the world, right? So
well, yeah, but they're not gonna. You're not gonna find. We're not talking about like Advil and stuff like that.
No,
we're talking about cancer.
Yeah,
finding a cure for like a serious disease, because people are always gonna have inflammation.
Yeah,
like that. But like, but what? But
so cancer. The cure for cancer is kind of an interesting one, because, and sorry if I'm dominating the conversation on this part, but so I got a quick question for you. The people who spend 10 years to go through medical school, are those people doing it primarily for their own benefit, for money, or do you think that the people going through there are kind of bright-eyed and want to help people?
Well, my brother, he's a doctor, but his specialty is psychiatry. So, but he's not doing but he had. I guess every doctor has to go through all areas of except ER. I don't think, but they do the pharmaceutical stuff. Like he's obviously, because he prescribes medication to people now, because if they psychologically anyway. So I could tell you firsthand, I don't think, I could be wrong, I don't think he got into the business for the bad reason. You know what I mean? The conspiracy reason. He actually wants to be able to help people. You know what I mean? So
there you go.
He's not the one controlling the drugs, though.
But that's kind of my issue, is that I feel like the people who are going in and inventing these drugs, if they're like, I've known a lot of scientists. I've got several published papers and everything. And the moment you find something and you can prove that it works, you immediately tell everyone you possibly can. 1, for recognition, 2, for money, for whatever reason.
Right.
And I'm just thinking that if anyone did have a cure for cancer, someone in that office, because this isn't like, we're not looking at like, a man in his basement by himself figuring this out. You've got an entire floor of a lab that's dedicated to this, and there's going to be 20 people that know that there's a cure for cancer, and
then that bro gets suicided.
He didn't wake up.
I'm gonna say,
that makes sense.
Honestly, if that's the case, then I'd say it's car salesmen. Car salesmen must know the cure for cancer, because they're the ones with like the really sad lives that usually end in tragedy. So,
but no,
nothing against any car salesman.
Another disclaimer. But no, that's actually a really good point, because even with the whole like COVID thing, like you would, the conspiracy people, not saying I believe it, would say, oh, they have the cure for COVID, they're just holding out or whatever till after either the election or whatever. But like you said, they can't control all these licensed people that are out there trying to make the vaccine, right? Like there's
Yeah.
actually good people out there trying to make it happen. So it's not just like a group of 5 people saying, "Hey, let's just control the cure for cancer, okay? Keep it on the tight wrap." Oh, but wait, there's hundreds and thousands of people trying to make the cure.
They would be getting
But there's no, it's like
conspiracy shattered.
done.
Well, not necessarily. There are plenty of other things. There are things like NDAs or like non-disclosure agreements that workers have to have, so they may fear for their jobs or their productivity. Because if you break an NDA, even something like this seems like it would be good for the world, you make yourself way less marketable. Like you can get blackballed in essentially what you worked your whole life to work in. So there's possibilities like that. And I know one of the really popular conspiracy theories that I've heard is things like infinite energy problems. So there's this very popular conspiracy theory that there was a battery made by somebody that's like still providing power after X number of years, and that we have this built-in planned obsolescence for batteries, and some major company, say, Evil Batteries Incorporated or something like that,
Sure.
that they bought a patent that can do this like infinite energy, and they've hidden it away. So I've heard that, and that's something that I'm more inclined to believe.
Right.
That, like, I remember being really taken in by the it was an electric car one where it was, Toyota must have bought like this perfect electric car design, and everything we're working on since then has been crap because we can't use this fancier design, basically.
Right, and because then the conspiracy would go as far as to say you have a multi-billion, million, whatever of these companies that they rely on you to buy the Duralast or whatever stuff, or to buy Tylenol or whatever. So why would you let this one alternate thing happen to come along for you to just if you know what I mean? Like, oh, all you have to do is buy this battery and you're set. Like, you just don't have to buy reusable batteries. You're good. Just save up a couple $1,000s and then you can buy it. You know what I mean? Same. Like, why don't cars last forever? Like,
All right, light bulbs. They put those little tears in the filaments so that they slowly burn out. Right?
Oh,
They put little notches in the filaments. So
really?
Because have like a perfect filament that would just burn for like a long time. That's what I've heard. But they have little imperfections. Like they have to have like a certain level of defects in their product so that they'll burn out in a certain amount of time, like planned obsolescence, like you talk about, so that they can have manufacturing lines, or else we would just have warehouses and warehouses full of light bulbs. But that gets to another point where I was going with the thing. Shoot, so hard to talk. But yeah, the 5G is just coronavirus, bro.
Oh no! I told my wife I wouldn't bring that up. I told my wife I would not get into the 5G.
Okay, but yeah, I don't know.
No.
That was just another point. That was just another point to that.
Because I could talk about that a little too. Gore, what were you gonna say?
Honestly, the only references I've heard to 5G being anything is, like, I didn't even know that it was something they were trying to roll out, and I just barely saw it, only in reference to, as a conspiracy theory, that, like, 5G is, like, mind control, and then it became 5G as COVID or something like that. So...
It's actually...
Go ahead.
I've seen something with some report that was just released or something that was actually... There is like possibilities with not like being COVID, but with it causing mutations on some sort of level. But like, it's not like through the airwaves or something like that. It was like in some specific kind of, and so that kind of has to like base things. But
okay, well, so I did my master's class a couple months ago, and it was on technology in the classroom. One of the professors had us look into radio waves. He said, what's the most dangerous wavelength, or whatever they call it, that you don't see? The sun, right? You get too close to it, you're gonna get, it's gonna mutate your cells and stuff. That's how cancer is formed. That's how sunburns and stuff. And I could attest to that with my back getting fried. But so you can't see that. And now I'm not saying, disclaimer again, this is all out on the, this is what some articles out there say when so cell phones, if you look at the instructions in the manual, whatever, there's a disclaimer that says, don't sleep with it or don't keep it on your person for an extended time because it can cause harm to your body. I found out in a research thing that I had to do that what are they called? The people that do the like the FDA approved. Yeah. So the FDA, when they go and test cell phones that come out, they are using machines that are from the 80s, I think, still to this day. And when they test it, they don't test the phone on skin to skin contact. They test it from like a body's length away, and it's still enough for them to have to give a warning to not have it close to contact. And basically their point was to say is that if they were to test it with modern technology to see the radiation or the wavelengths that are getting put out by our phones, it would not pass, and you would not have companies like Apple to be able to sell cell phones. And dude, no joke. Now I don't want to sound crazy or anything, but like I have my phone here. Dude, if I put my phone on the desk here and I put my hand out sometimes, like I put my hand on the mouse and it's over the phone, I feel this like, I don't know. I'm starting to sound crazy. That's what one of my friends said that they experienced that. I don't personally. I've never experienced that. So anyway, there's that. How do we get down that rabbit hole? George, do you have anything to add to the 5G?
So actually, my senior year, getting my electrical engineering degree, one of my professors talked about his dissertation being focused on the idea of cell phone radiation. And he tested it, and it turned out that the amount of radiation given off by an old cell phone, so granted this was like old brick Nokia days, was roughly the same amount of radiation that you experience as when you stand in front of, like, stand too near to your microwave. So like if you're standing in front of your microwave and you run it for like a minute, you're getting the same amount of radiation. And the thing is that's radiation has a lot of, well, it's not even actually radiation. It's electromagnetic fields that you're.
That's what I'm referring to. Yeah.
And the thing is the wavelengths that are most dangerous to humans, or like, so we get all the way down to gamma radiation.
Gamma. That's what they were talking about.
The thing that turned Bruce Banner into the Hulk. So gamma radiation is extremely dangerous. Can go through anything, but we're generally protected from the gamma radiation from the sun because of like the ionosphere and the magnetic field and things like that. So, but cell phones do not create radiation or energy at those frequencies. So gamma radiation is in the I want to say terahertz range. Let's see, one moment. I'll pull this up. So wavelengths for gamma. So gamma radiation exists on the picometer scale. So 1 over that is going to be 10 to the 19th per second. So extremely high frequency. Basically, the kind of frequency that our computers wish they could get to. Like a really fast CPU core, which you might have in your phone, would get up to like 4 gigahertz, which is nowhere near gamma radiation. And the important thing to remember when you're looking at these types of radiation is really if you're at ionizing levels. So the shorter the wavelength / higher the frequency, the lower power you need to ionize and therefore essentially cause cancer. And those levels of power aren't really possible from your phone. Like extended exposure, we're not 100% sure, but the possibility, like you're as likely of getting hit by a gamma ray while sitting in your chair at home as you are by, your phone causing any sort of problem. Like that's the general idea, is that the surrounding radiation that we're exposed to every day is as high or higher than that which our phones produce.
Yeah.
That's the argument. That's the
other side.
That's the generalized argument of why they're of how they're made safe.
Yeah.
The voice of reason. I knew
Yeah,
GORISOR was going to come in here and drop the knowledge and know about the science behind.
I'm really terrible at parties. I'm not gonna lie. I'm no fun at parties ever.
But
no, this is great. This is great. Anyway, so yeah, without scaring, you don't want to scare the audience or make them think we're crazy or anything. We can segue to your guys' conspiracies, unless really quick. Nazis discovered giants in the Arctic conspiracy.
Okay.
Have you heard of that?
I haven't heard about the giants, but I've heard about the
base,
the secret base, and the opening to the hollow Earth that they got down there.
That's where they. So I just side note. We'll make this one quick. It's just because I pulled it up. I was told just a few weeks ago when I was camping that so we were talking about the angels when they came down, the Nephilim,
The Nephilim, boy.
And they spawned giants, basically. That's how you get the mythological, the David and Goliath, or you get all these ideas of giants. Anyway, so the theory is that when the giants or the Nephilim, after the flood, they needed somewhere to go. Supposedly they were up in the Arctic or Alaska. That's where they all lived, and then things started coming out toward the Americas, and they had to migrate somewhere else. So they went to the Arctic, and then World War II happened, and then supposedly the Germans tried to make a secret base there, and then they came across the giants there and killed them all that was left that lived there, because there's giants that are supposedly there's skeletons and all that, right, guys? Like that's factual, sure. Right? The skulls that they found. Over. Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, and my wife was just saying that there's been over 2,000 some sightings of Bigfoot in where is that? In
dude,
America?
I think Bigfoot is a extraterrestrial dude or a extra dimensional being.
Oh, for sure.
I'm more inclined to believe that he's a Neanderthal, but
there you go.
Well,
so
okay.
particularly in like Northern Europe, they can trace back Neanderthal DNA, and people have Neanderthal DNA.
All right, Hobbs.
So
have a good stream, dude. What's up, Cuddle?
Dude.
How you doing, my man?
I would say that hollow point in the north has got to be pretty busy, because I've heard a lot of other groups that also fled there. So like I've heard the argument of like, depending on how much of your Bible you know, like the scattered tribes of Israel were scattered into that hollow location. So I'm just saying, like, if the Nazis went there, that probably wouldn't have been a positive reunion. Would be my guess.
So what's the hollow thing? That's not just the Arctic, is it? It's underneath the whole Earth, or what? Like it connects?
No, the hollow in the Arctic sort of concept. So
now, but then was
and then when the ice cap melts, you can they come out. No, but but yeah. So
I didn't hear that theory.
I read that one in a book, but they were making fun of it, so they didn't really get into it too closely. So, like I say, if there was a group to live in like a cave up north, I don't know if giants would be like your best choice. I feel like a smaller animal would be better off, rather than like a larger one.
Right.
But then again, like whales are really large, so maybe giants are just really, really blubbery. So,
well, I mean, maybe this will be for conspiracy 2.0 because we're spending too much time. But there's we won't go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, like
my whole. Oh.
Go ahead.
I just cut you off.
No, go for it.
Oh well, my whole thing with the Nephilim and the you get into the, I don't know about. I think it's just kind of a silly conspiracy, honestly, with the UFOs and the hollow Earth and the Nazis are hiding out there, or whatever, and they got their moon base, and you can go all directions with it. I haven't researched that. It's hard to like go into that thing, right. But they get into there's like a lot of fun, like they play the Nephilim, a lot of the like gene splicing with like ancient aliens. They have come down and they've like spliced our DNA. The Nephilim are
Right.
like aliens, and like there's like a lot of things in the Bible with like pillars of light, um, beaming people up, people ascending, things like that. Nature is just really interesting. I don't know if you guys look at that more like the Nephilim as being like aliens or things like that, or like, maybe angels could be also
Right.
be like some sort of extra dimensional beings. We don't really know, like on like
It's
there's
like
all sorts of weird things like with consciousness, in out of body OBE, near death experiences, that's just like crazy things,
well,
kind of
yeah,
in that
anything
realm.
that we can't really explain, we label as an alien. I mean,
Yeah, there you go.
So I heard that you guys see the show The Dark on Netflix?
Oh, dude, Netflix is total CIA mind control, dude. Oh my god.
Just keep
That
you at home,
programming.
man.
For they're operating at a total loss, dude. Netflix. I'm sorry, but go on with the dark.
Oh, I was just saying that they we
gotta
just
get
watched episode 1, but they were talking about how when you have deja vu,
Okay.
and the whole Matrix thing, it's the glitch in the Matrix. Well, their side of things is we've only seen 2 episodes, I think, but there's something that happens. A child goes missing. You find out at the very beginning, and then this guy's just like, "Don't. It's gonna happen again. It's gonna happen again." And there's this whole like overlaying thing that happens where basically their theory is that the whole concept of time and like like in Inception, how you're able to take yourself out of the timeline because of time. On Earth, we're stuck to this timeline. But if you're able to get out of that dimension, you can jump in and out of timelines, right? If you can get to the 5th or 6th dimension, whatever that is. So their theory is that life is very repetitive, but it happens to different people, but it's the same thing that happens. So when you experience something like, oh man, I'm having deja vu right now, supposedly their theory is that someone had that same exact experience that you're having maybe 10 years ago or last year, or they're about to have it also. It's that kind of glitch in a sense. So, but the idea of time, that's why I put time and space. That one we can get on for. We might even just have to save that one for a whole nother podcast, because that one just blows my mind.
I think what we should really do, is maybe talk about what we should do if we're going to do a podcast. Like maybe we should, like this is a good idea. Like we want to do some conspiracies and stuff, but we got to be like, hey, we're going to talk about something, because I have an idea to talk about like 9/11,
Yes.
So you guys are talking about pharmaceuticals and the 5G, and we're just like bouncing all over the place. So, but like maybe, yeah, we should actually be like, hey, this is the topic, and like,
we'll pinpoint, and then we can all do our research or whatever we found interesting, and then bring it to the group if people watching find it interesting,
Yeah.
Because Cuddlenecks, who watches, I don't know if he watches you guys too. He's saying that he's loving our conversation.
Cool.
So
cool.
Anyway,
I'm enjoying it too. Just kind of, I mean, what are there any topics that you're interested in?
Well, like I said, I could get on the topic. I don't know how religious you guys all are, but the concept of just even time, the creation. If we're gonna get into creation, the time itself. So we can do one on just time and space, because don't get me started, because I know I want to hear your guys' conspiracies. So
you talking like singularity kind of stuff?
Yeah. I mean,
okay,
like the dimensions, like
dimensions.
Because don't they say that there's how many dimensions? There's 6 dimensions or something like that.
3 spatial time, so 4.
Right. And like basically you're in when you're on Earth's timeline, like when we were born, we're stuck to that timeline. We got to play it out. But then outside of that, if you were to get into like God and creation and stuff, you could get into the theory of like, okay, if we die, like the rapture and stuff, we're gonna go that down that route.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say, oh, so and so is in heaven waiting for you. You know what I mean? Or like if my mom was to pass, she's not up there on my time, just looking at her watch, going, Oh, it's been an hour. I wonder when I'm going to get to see my son. Same thing with God. He's not stuck to the years, the days, the hours, minutes like we are, because he's outside of time, because time is limited to the sun's rotation and everything, right? So my conspiracy or our topic would be, what is it like when you are not held to time? Because time is just what we're able to comprehend on Earth.
Okay.
So they say. I'm just speaking for a friend. Yeah,
it's like a deep thought.
That's not coming from me personally. That's just what other people were telling me to bring up. Let me just throw that out there.
Okay.
So anyway,
Far out. I'd like to talk about. We could get into like MK Ultra. You guys ever looked at MK Ultra stuff?
MK Ultra, I've heard reference to that before.
You guys should check. That would be fun. There's been tied to a lot of like even like Timothy McVeigh and like what's his name, Charles Manson, and Jack. Is it not the guy who shot John F. Kennedy? Sirhan. They all have ties to like mind control and
I've heard
these
that.
strange LSD like stuff from these. That's a real interesting thing to look into. MK Ultra would be kind of cool, or shoot, I don't know.
That's what.
Or we could do like aliens, like maybe
Exactly.
like Roswell and or like have you guys ever heard of the battle over LA, Los Angeles?
No.
It's far out. It's like this it was widely recorded. They had like, I think they shot projectiles at this flying object that flew over Los Angeles, had all these lights trained on them. There's videos of it. It's really far out.
Really?
They don't know. It was kind of during, I don't know, except maybe when it was, but it was like people kind of play it off as like some sort of, maybe it was like an attack or something, but
Did it happen during World War II? Yeah.
I think maybe, but I don't know if it did actually, now that I think about it. But there's a lot of, I went to the UFO MegaCon 2020, and like I like a lot of stuff about UFOs and aliens and stuff. So that'd be kind of fun. Aliens we could talk about.
So yeah, we could just
Tic Tac. Do you guys know about Tic Tac?
TikTok.
TikTok. No, it's a Tic.
I know Tic Tac. They're good. They're good.
No, it's the Tic Tac incident, which was reported in the New York Times in 2017.
Oh, because we could get on to the TikTok conspiracy also.
Oh, with the Chi-Coms?
All right, so the Tic Tac.
But yeah, there's like this whole thing with, was the U.S. Navy. We were tracking like these unidentified objects over out in the Pacific, I think, out of South America, which is really fascinating. There's footage of it, and they were like published in the New York Times, like UFO, like they don't know what it was. Like the fighter pilots are like, we've never seen anything like this. But it also, there's also, of course, there's also like could have been a drone or, all these alien things.
Right.
People are Area 51. They're working on different like, sorry, I'm talking a lot, but they work on like technology. They say like there's the black budget. That's a real one. If you look into the black budget, there's like a couple $1 trillion of like U.S. funding that just disappears every year into the Pentagon, and no one knows where it is. But there's all sorts of theories about where that money's going. But like they say, like one of the common one is like they're investing in technologies that's like 20 years ahead. So like in the 90s, now we're seeing drones, and people were saying they were seeing UFOs fly around, and so they could have been drones. But that's no fun. I'm all about the aliens. They were aliens, dude, for sure. But I don't know. It'd be cool to pick some topics like that.
If we can it would be podcast aliens, and then podcast assassinations, podcast cults. You know what I mean? Like, then we'll really get
to us three. I think I'm kind of the one who's like, I'm all in, dude. It's and then you're kind of more in the middle a little bit. And then GORISOR is like, I got the science behind this.
Yeah. It's a good mix. That's what I'm saying. Like I knew, and I picked up on the chemistry even just over us. Someone would be live and then we'd be chatting, or you know what I mean? It's crazy. It's crazy. Like we're doing this now, but we got to mix in though, like childhood toys that we grew up with in between our conspiracy podcast, because I can just see that we're going to start to get this kind of like Oh, here they go again. They're going off on alien. Oh, they're going off on assassinations. Yeah, I don't want us to become that guy. You know what I mean? Another disclaimer for everybody watching: we're not that guy. All right.
I'm that guy.
No.
I'm not.
Don't see. That's a conspiracy in
Now
itself.
they're gonna get me. Now they're gonna get me.
What happened to Corpse? Man, he's been gone for months. Anyway,
Yeah.
so your guys' conspiracy that you were planning to talk about was, or have we already touched on it?
I jumped around on a couple because I was not sure if I wanted to get too serious or dark. But I was kind of looking at shoot. I don't know. I know 9/11 a lot. 9/11 was far out, man.
Oh yeah.
It was this huge event. A lot of people died. There's a lot of interesting stuff on it. So maybe I'll just go over some things that I find interesting about 9/11. Just like kind of off the bat.
The U.S. Navy has finally acknowledged
it hit the world at like such a crazy time. But like the thing about it, I mean, when is it not a crazy time? But like the thing, so I started questioning it when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
My friend came up to me and was like, "Hey, have you seen this documentary, Loose Change?" And I was like, "What? Have you guys heard of Loose Change?"
Loose change? No.
Okay, check out Loose Change. There's been many edits and, of course, lots of criticisms, but there's also some interesting points in there. But I haven't seen it in a while. But it's like, the big thing for me is like, look at all these demolition sites. All these buildings. When you watched,
Oh right.
What is it called? Building demolitions or whatever. So and you start watching it and you're like, dang, that. It like hit there. Oh, I'm getting a call, dude. But I turned it on. Probably outside. So the thing is, it's like, wow, okay, so like the buildings just fell straight down, like just they didn't collapse and like have like staggered or anything. It's just free fall speeds, that they say. But so that really like kind of blew my mind and started me looking into the 9/11 thing. And so but then it even starts getting weirder with like the Pentagon, where it's like, where's the wreckage from the plane? You see other like footage of plane crashes and there's a bunch of wreckages everywhere.
Have you seen the one where the plane clips, like it skips a frame?
Sure.
The CGI that it goes.
You see like a little thing come off of the bottom of the plane?
Yeah. Like it was a drone kind of thing, and like in the video they edit the plane going behind a building, but you see one of the fins go in front of it too. It's like something wrong. And then I just attached a video of they simulate the towers falling compared to what should have happened with real demolition, like you were saying. So
interesting. Okay, but I'll check that out. And then the other thing it's weird is you get into Building 7. Right, everybody talks about Building 7.
I haven't heard of Building 7.
You haven't heard of Building? See, oh my gosh. Okay, well I'm blowing your mind right now. Building 7, it collapsed too, but Building 7 wasn't hit by any airplanes. It caught on fire, right? And so they say, Building 7 fell from this fire, but Building 7 is supposedly, as they say in all the things that I've watched, it's the only building that's ever like modern constructed kind of multi leveled building that has collapsed from a fire. Other buildings, they stand in place and
when they're burnt
there's
out,
a skeleton and they're burned out and stuff. So it's kind of iffy. And then you say, well, what's inside of Building 7? And it's all Homeland security documents and like tax. It's like it was all like U.S. government like files and stuff. And so it's like, that's kind of weird that all got burned and destroyed. But then there's also Building 6, which I think is Building 6 that got destroyed.
That is weird, huh?
Which you have a hard time finding on the internet.
We're not opposing views here.
We're just so it's like, how did that building fall down too? And there's some theories about like that one burned out. That one like straight up burned out. But it's also housed like U.S. like documents and stuff.
Are those buildings, were they in the towers or are they around it?
They're a part of the complex. So I think like it's like Tower 1 and 2 or
Right.
something like that are the Twin Towers, but there's also some other buildings that are like World Trade
Yes.
Center 7, World Trade
Got
Center
it.
6. Yeah,
Interesting.
so it's far out, man. It's far out. But the thing is, it's like they straight up collapsed. And there's all sorts of it's all this strange
Well-
stuff around. It's just like the collapse, right? But then it's like, okay, so they definitely collapsed with some weird circumstances, but like everybody's focused on how did they fall, you know? But it's like our attention is so diverted to like, oh, they fell in like a weird way, you know? That's so weird and stuff. But it's like, who, you know, why did, like, who's the people, like, you know? And so there's like a lot of CIA, like I always say the CIA, it's like controlled opposition to the whole World Trade Center truth movement, with like trying to figure out, you know, what they're just putting stuff on, like, this is the physics, you know, who cares about the physics? It's like, what is the geopolitical, you know, implications of the towers falling,
Right.
and like what did we do afterwards? Which is really interesting. But
Here's the thing about that is, what if it happened today where people have cameras on them 24/7? You would have footage, live footage or whatever from inside. You would have multiple angles being filmed up there. You would be, you know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy how, and they go on and say like there's news companies footage that miraculously were taken or lost or whatever, that had, because they filmed that thing 24/7.
The Pentagon, they haven't released all the Pentagon footage. There's all these gas station from across the street that have been taken. Well, why not show the footage?
But yeah, why do
not
you
just show the footage?
Right, exactly. So it's just weird. It's just, you know, it's fun to speculate. It is a tragedy still.
I mean, me, I think there's has to be something with the, like, you're telling me that a couple of guys, you know, this terrorist organization was able to, and then Osama bin Laden was hidden for what, 20 something years almost?
Yeah.
Out in some cave, like they couldn't find him.
No one heard of him really. Oh,
The
maybe
guy
that's because
who-
I was young, but
It's far out, man. There's definitely the powers that be knew it was going to happen, you know, in my book. That's what, you know, I think there's some,
as the Joker
Yeah,
says, it's all part of the plan.
it's all part of the plan, man.
That's my
So
best. That's my best
we could
Joker right there.
We could do a whole episode on 9/11 sometime and go deeper in it, but that was what I'm most prepared to talk about.
Yeah. Or you could just talk about fear and how it's been used throughout history as the greatest push, I guess. What would you say? The greatest
Control?
control, yeah, out of everything.
Mechanism.
Yeah. Well, like that whole C.S. Lewis thing about fear, you know, that we disproved. We disproved that one. But yeah, it's just, fear is, as the Joker says, you add chaos into the question and people lose their minds when things don't go according to plan. It's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, sorry, my friend keeps calling me. I was supposed to let him do something.
Well, we could, Gore, you've been
what do you
silent.
think
What do
about
you,
9/11, Gore?
yeah, you've been finding factual stuff right now, or are you gaming right now?
No, the thing is, I don't have a ton of background on this. I've actually been Googling the things that you've been mentioning as we go. And the thing is my background is scientific. So like I could talk about scientific arguments in regards to these, but also I'm not a structural engineer. So I, you know, without a lot of background, I do know that the often repeated what is it? What's it? Airplane fuel can't melt steel beams or something.
Yeah,
Or jet
I've heard that.
can't melt steel beams.
Yep.
So that's true. It can't melt steel beams, but it can absolutely weaken them enough to collapse.
Yeah,
So
blade on
like
top of it.
that's something that I think is pretty straightforward. However, as far as like the buildings collapsing in what seems like a very controlled manner, I have nothing but guesses to go off of for that. So, you know, it's very much outside of my realm of understanding. So like I know I watched a lot of videos, and my brother is a huge 9/11 conspiracy guy. Well, he was back in the day. I don't know if he still is. We don't talk that much about things like this anymore. So, yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I mean, it's the concept that that using something like the World Trade Centers to forward a political or some other agenda that is not a terror agenda. It's like even if it's a terror agenda, like it is a tragic and I'd say frankly insane level of like lack of humanity, basically.
That's
So
where we.
and that's the thing. It's like whoever's in charge of it, absolutely someone out of their mind. Like there's no way a sane person came up with that idea.
Satanic.
So, like massive loss of life is always that way, though.
Yeah,
like it's never made by rational thinking humans.
No,
so
that's true. That's a good point. That's
where we get into. Yeah, well, they say that like a psychopath. The psychopaths are the ones who would rise to the top in a civilization like our own. When this, so like they say, like people who would make it to the top would be kind of psychopathic to be able to. I don't know what it is. Like people in corporations, are able to do that kind of work to get to that. I mean, not that there's not hard working, just like normal.
Yeah, but they thrive.
But they
thrive
cut
in the
people.
environment.
They'll slit people's throats to get ahead. That's what it is.
They'll Game of Thrones it.
Jungle. Oops, sorry, language. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Man, now we gotta go bleep that out in
bleep
post.
That out in post. I'm sorry.
No, just kidding.
I usually don't swear. I have to do some exercise.
My only response to that is like, yeah. So like, psychopaths, sociopaths, like you can find aspects of their personality that really thrive at the top.
Mm-hmm.
But I personally think that more often you find them as failed cons instead. Yeah. Like I think so, and that's that there's nothing to back that up except for the fact that I personally don't think that the level of brilliance required to keep all these plates spinning at the same time and sociopathic tendencies cross over often enough for that to be the case. Because I mean, you can have all those things. You can be absolutely brilliant. You can have zero empathy for your fellow humans, and you just wouldn't have quite enough luck to raise yourself from whatever standard of living you're in to that top where you'd be in charge of everything. However, I also think that being detached from society builds more or robs people of more empathy and makes them act more cutthroat than anything else. So I do think that if there is kind of a world elite, that as you want to say, like if there's that world elite, I think that there's a disconnect to where they may not recognize others as humans. I think that just being disconnected from people makes it easy to not view each other as real human beings. They're just others. That's why road rage is so easy, because those aren't people, those are cars.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, I was thinking about that too. Like just today, cars, dude, you're driving around, right? You're so detached from interacting with like another person. Yeah. But that's totally. But like what you were saying. But sorry, that's totally side. But that's a what do you call that? A
rabbit hole.
It's not a singularity. That's a
Nonsense.
That's one of those synchronicities I just had right there, dude. Synchronicity. But what you were saying, Gerbil Beard, is about the satanic.
Oh, me? The ones running the show. Yeah.
Where you could get into that kind of where it's like it's like a sacrifice. It's like these people aren't, on the same level as we are. Who knows?
For every action, there's a reason behind it, right? So it's just crazy that if supposedly 9/11 was a political thing, if COVID is a political thing, it's just so sick that it has to get down to using, like, is it? I just can't wrap my mind around thinking, is it worth it to you that much to either have that much money or to have that much control when you can't control your own life? Like, your time on here is not permanent. You know what I mean? So like, is your mindset so wrapped on like the now? And I guess I could believe it. I guess people, you know, and we can talk about the conspiracies of people selling their souls to the devil. And I was watching this guy. I didn't know this. I mean, I knew that there was the triangle on the dollar bill, but is when I was doing my research on the ark, or the pyramids being built before the flood. But it says, like, in whatever language on the back where the pyramid is that it's the World First Order or whatever it's called is on there. And then the reason that the eye is not completely landed on the pyramid is because the Illuminati's plan has not come full circle yet, which you could say, you know, religiously Antichrist or whatever has not come in full circle. So anyway, but yeah, like,
I think that, well, if we were to talk, like, say there was like an elite, like just like an elite, you know, the royal they.
Yeah.
It's like us common, like, people, like, we're not even people to them. They live on a completely different world than we do. It's like, they're just like, we can't even fathom, like, like, they just, like a snap of the hands, like their fingers, they have whatever they want at their disposal, you know. And then it's like, this is where I think you're getting into a little bit of like hitting on a nail there, is like, you start talking about Epstein with the, you know, that's kind of like gleaming a little bit into I think some of that life, like, and I've heard personal like stories from my family, like my uncle, like, I'll tell this story a little bit later, but like with Epstein, it's like, you know, once you have everything in the world, I mean, what else is there? And you know, it's not just like normal, like, sex or something like that. You're getting into some deviant behaviors with, you know, underage kids. You know, you want to get something crazier and wilder. And like, why not? You can do anything. It's power. You have unlimited sort of power, you know? And so, you know, who knows, like, who's involved in the stuff with, you know, and it's like, you see, like, worldwide, different people are coming out, and who knows what the plays are. We'll never know, I don't think, you know, like, and what we get fed on, like, all you know is like what you have, I guess, you know, to go off your own experience, conversations with people. And we just get media all the time, like, shoved down our throats, like the news. Like, is it really that bad out there? Like, you know, I'm not saying I'm denying COVID doesn't exist or anything.
No.
But like, you know, I think it's blown out of proportion. But the thing is, it's like, you know, it's a crazy, the world, and there is, I think, you know, an underside, a darkness out there. I'll let you guys talk.
Well, the thing that always doesn't really blow my mind, but it's just a funny thought to think, is that you think of the, you know, even like Adolf Hitler. He came into this world the same way everyone else does. He was a baby once. He was a kid at one point. It's just crazy that you could look at youth and think, how can you go from that to then the thoughts of doing what he did? Or, you know what I mean? It's just crazy. And the span of time isn't even that long for you to go from innocence to having those ideas and beliefs. Because when you think that you really came to your own ideologies and beliefs when you were growing up, was it during high school? Was it, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't take long, 18 years for you to kind of, or even less than that, for you to come to your own, right? So it's just crazy, man. It's just
the roads we can go down.
Yeah,
they say some crazy stuff with Hitler. He was like hopped up on meth, it was like a meth addict or something.
And that's
have you heard any of that?
No, but that makes it, that would be a cool book or a cool show, is people going into like trying to get into the timeline of these murderers, of these, you know, people like Hitler. Like, what was his background like? What was it? What, you know what I mean? What was his parents like? What was he exposed to cause him to, you know what I mean? I don't know.
you also think about those figures, these leaders and things that we see in like Hitler and other, maybe Trump or whoever, all these presidents, leaders that we have around the world. It's like they're beholden to other powers out there.
That's
that
true.
be they're not like, how did that person get into power, or like,
that's what I'm
how
saying.
did they rise? There's things behind, like, I think that we get to choose red or blue, or pick our favorite colors every 4 years, so we feel like we're in control here. And I think that it's the right wing and the left wing, right? And it's the same beast, and we're just flapping the wings of two different creatures.
They were
of
saying
the dragon, it's so far out, bro.
Were we talking about the whole division thing, where like by us putting a label on, like, oh, I'm straight, so and so is, there's, what is it, there's bi, gay, all these labels, right?
Okay.
Isn't that doing the what's that word? Not diversity? No. It's DEV something. But like someone said, huh? What was it?
Dividing.
Well, that's the thing, is what they were saying. There's a thing like behind the whole thing, is like they're trying to unite everybody, but when you label people, you're separating them, really. You know what I mean?
Right.
So why can't we just all decide on one unified thing together? But no, we gotta. Oh, no, you're all these ranks. Everything's a rank, dude. So
all this fake diversity.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Diversity really is divide. I don't know.
Dividing or something. I don't know.
Someone told me that. It's not. Once again, I gotta throw that out there.
Well, even if it's not happening kind of within groups, I think that the political landscape right now especially is all about othering people. Like either you're a bleeding heart liberal and you're on the Democrat side, right, or you're a mouth breathing conservative and you just follow Trump because you can't think for yourself, right, or you do the same thing with the liberals. Like the thing is regardless of your political belief, like the other side is saying that you're bad, but the real problem is that it adds in that level of abstraction. So just like when you're driving on the road, and like me, I don't yell at people face to face, but when I'm on the road, I shout at my windshield all the time, and it's because it's not people. There's a level of abstraction, and it's the same reason why people are meaner to each other, like when they're on Facebook or when they're on any other website. It's because they stop being people and start being just things.
Yep.
And when you can look at someone across the aisle from you and say, well, you're just a part of this monolithic thing, and I don't have to treat you like a person, then everything breaks down, because you stop listening to people's ideas, and you stop trying to find common ground, because they're so different and they're so wrong that to be associated is tantamount to death. So
creating the other, just the enemy.
Yeah, it's an enemy, and the thing is like, so the conspiracy theory that I always have going around in my head, because at one point my dad turns out to believe it, is the idea of like the space race, and he thinks that we didn't make it to the moon, at least not when we said we did.
Right.
But the thing is if you look at the U.S. during that time, so like regardless of that theory, if you look at the U.S. during that time, that was during the Red Scare. So either you were a good American or you were commie scum. It was one or the other, and you had to be the other. Like if someone had different views than you, then sounds like commie trash to me, and you're a bad person because of it. So Soviets aren't a bunch of people living under a system. Soviets are a bunch of Reds, basically. So there's always sort of this kind of rallying cry around demonizing your opponent. But I think that with the internet as present as it is in our lives, and as kind of in your face, I feel like there's kind of a constant sense of essentially distance that we're pushing away from people that don't believe the same way we do. And I think that ends with us being in echo chambers with people that agree with us, and it leaves everyone who's not inside that as being just wrong.
That's true.
All right.
Yeah, and that's
the age-old battle of circus and bread, right?
Right.
But that's a twist on your thing. Is more I see what you're saying, like the battle of others, but it's like it's as long as like we have this, what I'm trying to play off what you said is like, as long as we have this what you're saying is like, as long as we have this these fake kind of, maybe not fake kind of issues, but these like kind of like topical issues, we have this conflict that we can be engaged in and feel like we're kind of like making a difference, and like, arguing about, I don't know, something like, abortion or something like that. So we like are fighting like, hey, like I'm pro-life, I'm pro-choice, have these kind of just these like little like topical things where it's like, who bombed the World Trade Center, dude? I want to know what's going on there.
It can't just
but
be
then,
one-sided,
no,
you know what I mean?
We're spending our time with these like little like, should we wear a mask? Should we not wear a mask? Like,
are the masks like causing us more harm?
All these fake little issues. I want to know where the 22 billion black budget, is going to. Stuff like that.
Have you guys looked at the map of like where they're saying the COVID
is? That what
is? In like other countries, there's like a little circle around half of, or maybe 3/4 of the country, their country. You look at America, our circle is over the whole country that we have COVID. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. It's just crazy. It's just, and the conspiracy could be that, everyone that I hear, not everyone, but people will say, oh, well, we'll see what happens coming after November, after the election and stuff. Oh, you watch, it's all going to go away after November. It's like, I don't know. My brother, doctor, he was saying, even in March, he said, this is the new normal. I'm like, nah, there's no way this is the new normal. Well, look at it now. Like, even now, and the conspiracy could be, this is not my view, this conspiracy could be that, like the whole fear, the whole, yeah, a friend told me this, the whole fear thing could be, something happened. Oh, Crimson Knight is now hosting you. Thank you, Crimson, for the host. I don't have the alert thing set up. My Top Gun music went off, and it scared the heck out of me. Crimson, thank you for that. Oh, no, they're out to get me. Anyway, so it's Riku. Oh, thank you, Riku. Anyway, God, what was I saying? So they're basically saying they want to get you. They want to get people in fear, so that they give it was American Horror Story, the cult season that he was saying, you guys want to get, he says, I see a black screen. I don't know, dude. Might be my 1080p. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks fine. Just checked out your channel.
Yeah, I'm fine?
Yeah, you're good.
I don't know, Riku. But the point is that they want to get people consumed by fear so that they allow the government so much X amount of power. So this is all hypothetical. They say that we've given now the government power to decide, or governors, when to shut down businesses and flip a switch. Oh, you got to do this to do that. Now it's a new standard to where at any time they can now blame it on, oh, we got a new case of COVID coming up. Shut down all the businesses during this time. It's kind of scary if you can think about it on that conspiracy thing. And it like 9/11, all these new standards of the way you travel changed, and it never went back. So
you always take your shoes off now.
You always gotta. Do you really have to take your shoes off? Oh yeah, you do. Yeah.
And you gotta go through the. This is playing off of one of my favorite comedians, that Bill Burr, where you gotta get inside of this. They like, world population needs to be thinned, right? How do we do it? How about every time we cook them? How about every time they have to fly, they go through this big machine that just slowly cooks them? Right, that's not my material. But
make sure
that was kind of your
credits.
Was that kind of your point, Gorisor, that the division, making these different, I don't know if I
Yeah, like
get on.
dividing people against each other and things like that. Though I'm not gonna lie, Gerbil Beard, you brought up one that I'm actually super interested in, mainly as like the things that like politically happen, and that's the concept of essentially unlimited power in governorship.
Yep.
Because in let's see, so in New York City right now, so in the state of New York, if you enter New York, the government will force you to stay under quarantine for 2 weeks, and if you break that quarantine, you'll be fined $2,000. And there's what was I think Kentucky. They gave an order about closing their borders, which states can't do. Like in the Constitution, states can't do that.
Really?
But they made a claim for it, and so you talked about businesses being shut down. On top of that, churches are still shut down, and
Yep.
I'm not saying that anyone has made any decisions with malintent, but the concept of essentially freedom of religion kind of being popped away.
Yep.
Like there are references to stories I've heard where like it was like a Catholic priest needed to come in and give last rites to somebody, but wasn't allowed to, even if he maintained distances or wore gloves or masks. Like
No,
and that's a religious observance that is very important in the Catholic faith, or baptism in many Christian religions as well, or gathering in synagogues or mosques. Like there are a lot of really important.
Just us as people needing to socialize with fellow like-minded. Well, gotta be careful how I say that. Not saying that you're not on the right. You know what I mean.
Gathering in churches is one of the key aspects of freedom of religion, and in a very surprising and kind of uncontested way, churches were shut down for like a month without anyone even realizing or batting an eye.
Well, we're shut down still in California.
For a little bit, it was the Democratic talking point was, hey, we're going to defund churches, or take away their tax exempt status for denying what is it?
For the
homosexual marriage or something like that.
Yeah,
what was that?
it was
basically
it
freedom
was
of religion. Like you can't. I thought it's like stepping on some weird toes. Like and like if you can slowly, it's a slow drip. It like it's taking more and more liberties away. And it's a strange. We're becoming more. It's so funny because it's like when you're a kid, you're just like, whatever, it's so chill. Like this is how it is.
Life is perfect.
This is what I grew. Yeah, and then you can see now looking back, it's like, wow, now I see the next generation of these kids growing up in this world where this is the normal,
Dude.
and this is what we do, and it's like to
it
my
doesn't have to be like that.
I think about how it used to be for them. They used to run around and scrape up their knees and stuff, and now it's like. It's like everybody's so padded and protected. It's like, that's like off topic, but like sort of the same thing, where it just,
that's spot on. Like things have changed. I remember when I was in elementary school, we started every day with the Pledge of Allegiance, and that's I think unheard of in schools now. Like, I don't know any schools that run it, and in I think my dad's age, it was like prayer was in school, and prayer's out of school now too. Like there are things that have changed kind of at such a speed that it's almost imperceptible. But yeah, that's the thing is I remember as a kid being sent outside, and you can't be sent outside without a parent watching you anymore.
No spankings either.
Even though crime rates across the board are down, like. Kidnappings happen almost solely from people who are related to the child. Usually it's a parent who doesn't have custody. Like all sorts of these things. Like we live in the safest time we've ever lived in, and we're way too scared to let kids go outside because what could happen, basically.
Right.
And they were saying that along with the whole false information and stuff. You look at history. My history professor told me his whole theory was to understand history, you got to understand the steps that were taken to looking at where we are now. You got to look at what happened to get us to where we are. You know what I mean? So if you look at just why was America, what was the reason for America, right? Was to escape King in England and religion, freedom of religion, basically. They were tired of being oppressed and forced to do, they can't practice Christianity. They couldn't do that. So they escaped, they rebelled, and they came to America. What's happening now in America? Now you're getting the trickle or the shadow of maybe certain things, supposedly, in theory. So this is clearly what someone else said, that is now slowly trying to pull it back, America back to what they originally were trying to escape from. Cousin Ivan says subversion. So, boom.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, and I'm not saying like it's interesting, you shouldn't protect your kids. I what I'm saying. Like, I mean, there is progress. The wheel is going to move forward, and things are going to advance.
Right, but will we ever be able to go back a few steps? The point is that you can't go back once the wheel's gone forward a little.
Right.
You give a mouse a cookie.
I don't know, but yeah, I think there is, like, in the great scheme of thing, there is always like a rise and a fall of civilizations, maybe, and it's like maybe we're at kind of a decline, or like a time before, where it's headed into like the next era, and then from there we'll be in this kind of new paradigm for a long time before we have a revolution again. So
Cousin Ivan just said we have a French Revolution fighting an American Revolution. So I don't know what that.
that's like.
Is that in reference to like the alt-right revolution there, where
you might have to ask.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not sure what Cousin Ivan means with it.
What is it? I don't know.
Yeah, either he's yanking my chain. He said, "Look up the map of subversion."
Oh, yeah, dude, we got.
Cousin should have joined us for this one. He's got some good stuff too. Let's see. What was it called? Map of
it's that
sub.
It's a communist revolution, boy. What they say? That's what they say on the regular chat.
Subversion roadmap.
I only got one viewer, and they're missing all this incredible content.
I'm at like 15 right now. Just kidding. Just kidding. Let's see. I don't know. Ivan, send me a link or something, bro. You found it, Gore?
Huh?
Did you find the?
No, I just saw the Snorlax cam. So.
Snorlax.
Yeah, on Corpse's stream.
I have so many cats. It's ridiculous.
We're dog sitting also. Anyway.
The yin and the yang.
Yeah. It's just crazy that like I was gonna bring up something about the 40s, or backtracking to about American-made things or making things that burn out. I know this has happened way early in the stream, but if you missed it, go check out the video when we're done, because we talked about mass production and why we produce things that are made to ultimately get destroyed on purpose to help these businesses. The point is that I was talking about, how the old saying goes, they don't make it like they used to. Well, maybe back then they made it genuinely, and now with corruption progressing through America and making things cheap, quick, and easy, that's where you lost quality over quantity. That you got quantity over quality, money over quality, I guess you could say. So
that's symbolic.
You know what I mean? It's just kind of crazy. It's just ironic that we will say, they don't make it like they used to. And look at tools to this day. I have some tools that I was lucky enough to inherit, or not inherit, but take off from somebody that didn't want them anymore. But they're old, and maybe that's probably why they didn't want it. But they work better. I would say, than anything I've ever seen or whatever. And it's American made, and it was made in like the 40s. So that era of time, you know, was like, I don't know, special.
Yeah, but yeah, and I have my grandpa's drill, corded drill, that he used, that he passed to my dad, and I still use, and that thing's from like the 50s or something. Like,
Boom.
the wall, it's like,
Yep.
it still works, and it's great.
Yep.
So
I'm telling you,
that's the truth,
dude.
it's crazy.
Why did they switch to battery powered tools and stuff so you can just fry the motor out easier or what? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's just.
but okay, so that gets into that.
Hold on, Ivan
like-
said really quick. French Revolution wanted to dismantle everything as a identity crisis. American Revolution wanted freedom. So you're saying that we're fighting.
It's coming back.
It's
in.
coming back around the French, right? And then eventually we'll get to the fighting for freedom again. Is what he's gonna say.
Well, we broke down. We got the individual. Like, we already came to the point that it's like, you know, it's all about the individual rights, you know, and then but now it's making this kind of collective where everybody's equal, where everybody has. We're destroying. What is it? What is it? Is it where you can like be judged? You know, where it's like, hey, this guy is better at at basketball. This team wins.
Yep.
You know, where it's like, you know, everybody gets a prize now. You know,
Everyone's
everybody
a winner.
has a learning disability for their tests. You know, you know, and not saying there aren't learning disabilities and things like that, but we're destroying. What is it? Meritocracy? What is that called? I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? It's where we're trying to equal out, by making everyone this equal. Like, hey, there's, you know, people like say I don't see race, you know, I don't see gender and all this stuff.
Right.
I don't want to get us kicked off of Twitch, but you know what I'm saying? It's like this strange leveling. It brings everyone down. We're trying. It's like you know, that's what they did. That's what happened in Russia, bro. I don't know. I don't
see things going quite to the French Revolution style, because the French Revolution was all focused on, like, it was focused on a type of equality where everyone was just a citizen. So there was no sir or ma'am or anything. There was no, like, you know, what would it be? Aristocracy or merchant class or, you know, laborers. It was all, you know, citizens, which is very, very similar actually to kind of the Soviet Russian comrade, or I don't know what they use in China, but regardless, so this concept of like everyone being the same and equal, but I kind of feel like we're going the opposite direction, where, you know, it's not like we're saying everyone basically has titles, but they kind of get to choose their own in a lot of cases, where it's like, you know, we've like it's well, I consider myself X, Y, and Z, and you need to respect all of these titles that I have.
Right.
And it's essentially, I think what it is by everything being pulled to being even, that everyone now kind of wants to stand out for who they are. And I think that this individualism that people have, where, you know, you want to be a part of something, but you don't want to be lost in the shuffle either. So I think that there's kind of this warring concept of personal integrity and personal interest fighting against this concept of essentially broadened equality. And what you were talking about, CorpseHammer, with that sort of equality of outcome, where it's like it doesn't matter who wins, we all get medals. I think that that's a part of it. That's trying to say that, well, everyone's kind of same journey deserves the same level of deserves the same level of praise. That these kind of build together, where it's like it's like everyone's the same and everyone's different at the same time. It's sort of
that's interesting.
Yeah.
To have your cake and eat it too. The thing that kind of destroys it is what you're saying, like more on that point, is the disconnect from like reality, right? Which is like where you get to make your own realities, you know, picking your own, you know, I don't know, your
Which
own identity, where it's like, am I a tree? Am I not a tree? But who knows, like where we're going in a couple of years, it's going to be like, yeah, these people are trees.
well, that's the thing with what Gerbil said about finding the steps that lead you there. I personally think that it goes back to Einstein. I think it's his fault. I think that the concept of relativism got like so there was relativism, which is everything is in the frame it matters in. But I think that moved into moral relativity, which eventually has led us to like essentially personal relativity, which is like personal truth. Like my truth is as valid and as accurate as everyone else's. And I think that's, I mean, to be fair, we wouldn't be able to talk about conspiracy theories if we didn't have that right now, because everyone wouldn't have their stuff online for us to read and work with.
Well, yeah, we all share some sort of commonality,
Yeah, everyone's a human, at least.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I don't know if I'm veering into like terms of service and getting myself banned off of Twitch for having what I consider rational views.
I know.
I think everyone has value. Like I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that, like, the guy that spends all day weaving baskets and the guy who's off trying to cure cancer aren't really living the same life. whether or not like they're trying to hide that cure afterwards.
Right. and what happened to the whole, if he wants to just make baskets, good for him. If you want to go and cure cancer, good for you. Why does it always have to be either a rank system or everyone's just got to judge, like,
right?
The label has to be your way or the highway. But then if you were to correct them, then you're wrong for correcting. But if you were to side with them, then you're also in trouble for siding, because I'm not gonna go down there, because I promised I would not get into the whole race topic, because this is conspiracies here. So anyway, Cousin Ivan says GORISOR hits it on the head with relativity. There you go. Yeah, it's
we're talking.
It's crazy.
We're talking like a bit of philosophy and stuff.
Well, and it's weird to think that it surely wasn't Einstein's goal, right? Or was he?
Oh no,
it's just
it wasn't his goal, but it wasn't like Darwin's theory of evolution got used to promote eugenics, where they were actually sterilizing undesirables. That was never Darwin's goal. Darwin's goal was to discover the origin of species, not
good question.
Not to cull the herd of humans.
Yeah, well, oof.
So
it's crazy now with that. I guess that kind of just sparked an idea in my mind. It's like now, with it's like people go and like my friend who was pregnant recently, they get like a blood test now, and it's like, oh, we can tell if the baby has Down syndrome.
Oh,
right.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, well, conspiracy a little there. Like, they can be like, okay, I'm gonna abort the baby.
Sure.
It's like, that's kind of far out, dude. But
well,
how far is that gonna go in 10 years, where it's like, this is the new norm, where, oh, this person has I don't know, blue eyes or something.
Oh, we can tell that they're gonna get kind of irritable more than the average child. Yeah, are you sure you want to have him?
Brave New World.
Oh, there's a slight chance.
It's really Brave New World there.
Oh man, that's where it could get scary. That could get scary.
We have some friends that just they've been trying for years to have kids, so they finally had in vitro fertilization, and they were asked questions. It was like, do you want a son or a daughter? Do you want like they basically went through a battery of tests with fertilized eggs, and they said, great, like which attributes that we can tell from the outside do you want to have happen?
What? You can tell from just looking at a sperm?
So there's some simple ways, like looking at DNA, you can see like Y and X chromosomes are very different. You can essentially count chromosomes as well. That's how you can check for Down syndrome. So basically everything you can tell from a fairly macro level in a cell, they know about these embryos before they decided to even try to carry a child. So they chose to have a daughter. They didn't which I find amazing. Like
That
that's
is cool. I
an
mean,
insane concept of I want a daughter, so give me number 6 or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. That's like, when do we stop becoming human and start becoming more machine?
Yeah,
exactly.
You know?
I mean,
Yeah.
granted, of the 3 of us, I'm the one using glasses to make sure that I can actually see things on the screen. So
How dare you, you hypocrite!
I think I know what side I would be on.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's far out. I don't know. It's always going to be advancing, and
Yeah.
maybe, and that's where you get into the simulation, bro, because hey, maybe we've already reached that point, and now we're just, like the ebb and the flow of the it's interesting because like there's that whole concept of, there's like the right is like politically in the United States or whatever, mostly the typical right is more associated with order, and the left is more chaos. And so there's always this kind of ebb and flow of the forces, powers, kind of washing over each other as it goes down time or whatever. But then you wonder, then maybe it's also you talk about time like cyclic, like tying back earlier to the podcast where you're talking about this, if you're outside of the linear progression of time, maybe you start seeing time more as like a circle, or like some sort of, just an idea, but maybe like a sort of like this kind of cosmic contraction and collapse, where it's where
Right.
maybe we have reached a point where we get to that, and then boom, it starts. We go back into a simulation inside of a simulation or something. Who knows?
All right, gentlemen. I know, Corpse. I know you have to. You probably already peed yourself. So.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do this again. This is super fun.
It was.
Yeah, it's been a blast, guys.
All right, guys.
Have a good one.
Good
And
talk.
anyone in the chat, thanks for coming by. Again, none of us believe anything we've said. It is inadmissible in court.
Exactly. We've all been speaking from hypothetical, from what we've heard from our friends.
From my Twitch persona.
Yeah. If we want to continue the conspiracy conversation, head over to one of our Discords, and I'm sure we'll be.
Gerbil Beard.